Luisa M. I am running for NPC. A bit of background about me. I'm very proudly Latin American. I was born down south and then was moved to the United States and spent much of my childhood in Florida. And now I live in the Pacific Northwest and I'm a member of Portland, Oregon DSA. So just a little bit more about my background. I was undocumented until I was almost 21. I grew up below the poverty line for most of my life. At this point, it was pretty much just my mom, and she was an undocumented housekeeper, and so that was really my reality. And being poor is really what drew me into the labor movement. It's why I got involved, and it's why I became a union organizer. And so I've been a community and labor organizer for 13 years. I've helped organize 7 strikes, all of which have been successful and have resulted in an average pay raise of 12.5%. So I'm really proud of the work that I've done. And so the reason why I'm running for NPC is because I can contribute the experiential knowledge of poverty, right? I understand poverty as an experience, and I understand immigration, and I understand and that I can bring a global South perspective to our organization's political decisions and direction. So what can you bring to the NPC as an independent candidate? Well, for one thing, being an independent candidate, and if I were on the NPC as an independent NPC member, you know, I'm not bound to a national caucus, right? And when there will be a disagreement, I'm not going to have to check in with a third party before making a decision. I can just make the decision that I feel is best for DSA and that's most representative. And so I think most members would not want, honestly, most DSA members probably wouldn't want an NPC comprised entirely of caucus representatives, right? But that's usually what turns out to be the case. And so, you know, my platform is about protecting, supporting, and building the IC's work. It's where I've developed part of the way that I've contributed to DSA. I've been on the IC, on the steering committee for 3 years. And using internationalist solidarity as a platform to recruit immigrants and poor people, right? So I want other people who grew up as global South immigrants without papers, beneath the poverty line. I want them to look at the work that DSA is doing and think, I want to be a part of that, right? DSA sees me. DSA understands that the rest of the world exists and that where I come from isn't some like third world country that just can't seem to get its crap together, right? It's a place full of people who are fighting for a just world and full of people with dignity, right? And DSA is finally beginning to connect with them. And so that's the thing that I feel is part of the less responsibility, right? To offer alternatives, to offer narratives that inspire people and that counter the racism and classism against communities of color, irregardless of whether they're here in the United States or in Guatemala or Yemen or the Philippines. That's important, and that's a perspective I can bring. Why does background and experience matter for the NPC? Well, background and having, again, the experiential knowledge of certain things, right? So food scarcity, food uncertainty, not having regular access to running water, living without papers, transiency or moving frequently because of poverty. These are all experiences one needs to have to understand how we can develop a socialist movement beyond middle-class youth, right? And here's where I want to talk about class. So a lot of people criticize DSA for being white, and how whiteness influences our direction and decision-making, our priorities, right? But no one mentions how more than DSA is white, it is overwhelmingly middle class, right? I've been in DSA for 5 years. This will be my 3rd convention. And so most people, as far as I can tell, did not grow up in poverty, right? They grew up safe and comfortable in nice homes, and that's fine. It really is fine. But my point is that it creates a disconnect to most people in the rest of the world. 85% of the world population lives in poverty, 85%. So when we talk about global solidarity, what global solidarity looks like, most people in DSA have a totally different starting line in terms of expectations, right? And that's talking globally. There's 140 million poor and low income people, disproportionately Black and brown, of course, in this country. So how can we figure out how to connect with them if all of our leadership and members don't understand poverty and how it shapes your experience as a worker and how it shapes your political view, right? In Latin America, at least, I could tell you middle class is a political term just as much as it is an economic one. And being middle class is synonymous with being anti-poor and anti-left and anti-revolutionary. You talk about shaping membership. Do you have a plan to increase membership? Yes. So what I would like to achieve as an NPC member is this idea of dual membership between DSA, right, and other left parties for immigrants in the United States. So the example I like to use is Morena, right? This is the current president of Mexico, AMLO, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. It's his party, Morena. And there are millions of Mexicans who live in the United States, some of which are Morena party members. So why couldn't we, one, continue to build on the solidarity work with Mexico that myself and other people have been doing for the last couple months through the IC, test the liaison program on the IC consensus resolution, right, which says that each chapter needs to have a liaison to the International Committee. And three, start doing local chapter IC events that attract Mexicans who have already developed a political consciousness that they support AMLO. They're already there. So why not get them into DSA, right? And so surveys in Mexico make pretty clear he's overwhelmingly popular with poor Mexicans. Not so much the middle class, right? They vote conservative. Again, it's a political group. But poor Mexicans love him, and we want those people in DSA. So through dual membership and the liaisons programs, what we could get Latin Americans, Africans, and Asians into the organization who have some understanding, right, of class and of poverty. And so getting more poor people into our organization will help shape it in a better way. It'll shape how we organize, what we prioritize, who we run for office, how we run them, etc. So in closing, all I'm going to say is that if you've reached this point in the video, thank you for taking the time to listen. If you really like what I have to say, please rate me #1 on your NPC ballot. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach me on Twitter. I'm at Luisa Knuckles, or the DSA convention Slack. I'm on there as Luisa M. Thanks so much.